privilege of introducing our today's chief guest, Honorable Governor of Tamilnadu, Shri R. Ravi. Shri Ravindra Narayan Raviji was born in Patna, Bihar, and did his masters in physics in 1974. After a brief stint in journalism, he joined the Indian Police Service, IPS, in 1976 and was allotted to the Kerala cadre. He served in Kerala in various capacities for over a decade and then in different parts of the country. While serving in the CBI, he led several anti-corruption crusades against organized criminal gangs, including the mining mafias in the country. While serving in the Intelligence Bureau, IB, the premier intelligence agency of the country, he served largely in threats of insurgencies and violence, including in Jammu and Kashmir, the Northeast, and moist infected regions. He also specialized in the dynamics of human migration in South Asia and worked extensively on the political sociology of border populations. He has played a crucial role in conflict resolution in areas affected by ethnic insurgencies, brought several armed rebel groups into peace. He was the architect of Indian international cooperation in counter-terrorism and intelligence sharing. After retirement from government service in 2012, he wrote regular columns in national dailies. He was appointed as the chairman of the Joint Intelligence Committee in Prime Minister's office, where, as the head of intelligence community, he coordinated and guided the agencies to meet the national security needs of the country. He was appointed as the center's interlocutor for Naga peace talks in August 2014. Within a short time, he could achieve a paradigm shift in the peace process by making it truly inclusive. Soon, all the rebel armed groups signed agreements for settlement of 7 decades-old separatist insurgency within the Indian Union and ambit of the Constitution of India, which could usher in peace in Nagaland and the rest of the Northeast India. He was appointed as the Deputy National Security Advisor in October 2018. Shri Raviji served as the Governor of Nagaland from 1st August 2019 till 16 September 2021. He has been the Governor of Tamil Nadu since 18 September 2021. We could not have got a better person to speak on today's subject, Atmanirbhar Bharat and Northeast, since Shri Raviji has extensively worked in the Northeast region of India. We are all eager to listen to our chief guest, Shri R. Raviji. He will speak on the subject of Atmanirbhar Bharat and Northeast calling. Let us welcome him with a big round of applause. I request Raviji to enlighten us with his address on the subject of Atmanirbhar Bharat and Northeast.
Most respected Didi Nivedita Videji, Shri Sohan Lal K. Jain ji, all the distinguished Mumbaikar present here. I know you all are here. It is a testimony of the fact that you all have the interest of our country, our nation at your heart. And you wish to do more than what you are doing already. My very humble namaskar to all of you. Friends, Northeast, it has been mystified through stories, all kinds of weird stories about the people, about what they do. At times looking like, when you listen to this, you feel you are Alice in Wonderland, as if something of that sort. You know, people of Northeast, as Didi told, they are very innocent, simple, highly talented. Unfortunately, they have been victim of various forces not of their making. Geopolitical, countries hostile to India, like China, Pakistan, and for quite some time after independence, several decades, even the Western powers, they were not very happy with what was happening in this country, and they were interested in keeping that region destabilized. But long before that, the region became victim of what I would call a civilizational war. The people of Northeast are not different from us. They may look different, but we all look different in different parts of the country. Oh, I'm coming from Tamilnadu. People look different. You go to Kashmir, people look different. Go to Himachal, go to Uttarakhand, go to anywhere, Punjab, Rajasthan, people look different. What is big about it? If you look at even their worldview, their attitude to the environment, their attitude to the family, they all are part of our national ethos. What made our country Bharat? We know that Bharat is not a mere political state. And that is the problem with many of our people face in understanding this country. Because if you understand Bharat, then anyone who understands Bharat will not have any difficulty in understanding Northeast and relating with the people of Northeast. But we have a problem of understanding our own country, what is Bharat. Unfortunately, we have been taught right from our school days the definition of a political state. That is an European definition. That a state has to have 4 ingredients: a territory, defined territory, a population, a government that administers the territory, and that government is sovereign. Now, if this is the definition of a political state, does Bharat, pre-independence Bharat, does it fit into that? It doesn't. At no point of time there was any king who ruled over the whole country. No. They were numerous. At times they were more powerful kings and emperors who had areas much larger than what Bharat is today. But if you look at the entire territory of our country, no. And yet, the Bharat was there. So what was Bharat? Bharat as a Rashtra. Bharat can be only understood if we understand what is a Rashtra. And Rashtra is something which is unique to us. It doesn't have any equivalent expression in any European language or any foreign languages. It is a civilizational entity. Shared values, shared spiritual ethos, what we call our Sanatana Adhyatma, where we see ourselves in all and all in ourselves. You know, Bhagavad Gita, when it talks about different types of jnana, tamasic jnana, rajasic jnana, and sattvic jnana, Lord Krishna says, Sarva bhuteshu enaikyam bhavam avyayam ikshate avibhaktam vibhakteshu tad jnanam vidhi sattvikam. Means, Sarva bhuteshu enaikyam. Mamatma sarva bhutatma. This is Sanatana Adhyatma. This is the core of it. And this indivisible looks divided. We have so many persons sitting here, all the distinguished people. The difference is underlying. The soul, the Atma is one and the same. That unique and most revolutionary revelation with our rishis got during the Vedic period, that we whole entire creation is a family. And that is what when we say Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. This core of our Sanatana Adhyatma, it gave rise to cultural practices. It shaped our lifestyle. Our etho, our icons through Ramayana and Mahabharata. It shaped our value system. How do we look at ourselves? How do we look at our family? How do we look at our society at large? And that is how, while different kings were ruling at different parts of this country, Bharat, and yet a person from any part of Bharat had no difficulty in reaching Kashi, because Kashi did not belong to Kashi Naresh. Kashi Naresh was not sovereign over Kashi. He was a custodian to take care of it. It was a trustee. Rameshwaram did not belong to the king of local king. Local king was traditionally called Setupati because there was a bridge. He was the guardian, the caretaker of the bridge. But Rameshwaram did not belong to him. Person from any part of Bharat had a right to go there. And that is how all the institutions, Tirtham, what we call it, they were located at different locations, different places, under different kings and kingdoms, and yet they belong to the whole Bharat. Bharat was united as a family through institutions, through practices, through custom, through their icons. If you go to northeast, Didi talked about Arunachal Pradesh. Some decades back, when I had visited, I used to visit northeast since long. I tell you one or two illustrations and that will tell you who they are. In the eastern part of Arunachal, the place, the states which he talked about and where Vivekananda has been doing a phenomenal good service. There is a community, Idu Mishmi. And I feel more comfortable when I travel to area to stay with at somebody's house, not staying in a circuit house or a government guest house. I stayed with one village headman, I stayed with that. I found that community keeps stuffed chutia. And I asked, what is this? And that person told me a story. He said, look, it has a long history. This is our identity. What is that? He says, Rukmini was our daughter. She was in love with Sri Krishna. She wanted to marry him. Rukmini's brother Rukmi wanted to marry her off to somebody. She informed Krishna. Krishna came, fought Rukmi, wanted to kill him, and at that time sister sought the pranadhan. Don't kill my brother. So with his Sudarshan Chakra shaved his head, left the tuft. My question is, the people whom we call tribals, whom we call backward, whom we call uncivilized, when did this story reach there? How many hundreds of years before the story must have reached to become a part of the folklore? Have we ever cared to take note of that? How come the Parashuram Kund, is located not far from the tri-junction of India, Tibet and Burma, Myanmar, in that very eastern Arunachal. How did Parasuram Kund be there? You visit every piece, every part of the region. It has that close nexus with the rest of the country. The problem is, we have forgotten. And we have forgotten largely because a civilizational war was unleashed on them. And if we start the time period when exactly it started, I would place it around about 1868-70. 1868-70. In fact, 1868. One American Baptist, Reverend Clark, he reached Jorhat. Jorhat, if you are familiar, it is at the foothill of Naga Hills in Assam. He wrote a letter, a few years later, he wrote a letter to the governor, Governor General of, in those days it used to be Fort William in Calcutta. The letter is very interesting. He says, every day when I wake up in the morning and look at the hills, I feel terrible pain in my heart. Because I see a whole lot of people waiting for the gospel, but I cannot go there. Because the local people did not allow them to go there. And that led to British government issuing Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation 1873, which put the inner line permit that Indians were barred from getting into the hills. All the entire hills of the northeast were barred from any Indian visiting that. And they opened the whole hills to the Baptist missionaries. They went and they met with a lot of resistance. But with the power, military power of the state, means the empire, the British Empire, they were able to subdue and control. And they started changing the faith, the culture, the tradition, what constitute the core of civilization. And this, and at the root of it, at the core of it, also, there was a very concerted attempt to create a distrust for the rest of India. Indians are crooks, people of the plain are very crook. They will exploit you. You know, before that period, 1873, people in the plain, the hills all around Arunachal, Nagaland, Mizoram, what we call, and the plains, they had a very good social relation, economic relation, natural. Neighbors are never strangers. Neighbors may fight occasionally, but essentially they coexist and they coexist in peace. They had social relations, marital relations, trade relations, barter trade. Bi-weekly, people from the hills will come down carrying their things to the plains of Assam. They will sell, they will buy things. And whatever was unsold, they used to keep in a house with whom they had such a tradition, family, generations of relations, what they called mangai, a system, where the people of the hills and the plains were related to each other, even had marital relations. And this division, 1873, segregating the entire hills of the northeast from the rest of the country, banning people from the rest of the country visiting those areas. And then a concerted attempt to change their faith, their culture, their tradition with anti-India bias. That subsequently, when the time came for independence, it erupted into a separatist violence, insurgency. And then others started exploiting it. Like when the water is troubled, people, those who can, they will fish out of it. Now, this period, if you look at the development that happened, I'm not going into the history of it, but from time to time, even in the rest of the country, when there was a freedom movement which started gathering momentum, first it was to have more devolution of power to the local people, indigenous people, natives, what they called Government of India 1919 Act, then subsequently the Simon Commission came and all to devolve more and more. The British administrators and these Baptist missionaries put together, they kept that whole area insulated from any kind of change. They would not allow any change to happen, saying that they are people who are innocent. Unfortunately, even after independence, we carried that impression. The knowledge about them, our own people, that knowledge we borrowed what the British civil servants and British missionaries, the American Baptist missionaries, they had left us behind about them, who they are. And we started also looking at them as if they are different. They are not us. In fact, there are letters from the first Prime Minister of India to the Chief Minister of Assam, Vishnu Ram Bedi, that says that, look, they are not us. We have to sensitively bring them closer to us. We have to assimilate. What a tragedy. And on the top of it, the first advisor to the Prime Minister on tribal affairs was Warrior Alvin, another one British missionary turned so-called anthropologist, Warrior Alvin. He shaped India's tribal policy. Our first Prime Minister was so enamored of English people that whatever they said, they accepted. And he framed the policy that, look, they are innocent people, don't contaminate them with civilization. Let them grow according to their own genius. Look, what a beautiful expression, isn't it? Develop according to your own genius. What? I tell you, it can be very dangerous language, you know. And as a result, they were treated differently, that they are not us. And an attempt was made to assimilate them with a sense of guilt that they are not there. So if they are fighting, there is a moral justification for them to fight. But politically, since they are part of us, we will not allow them to. Now this confusion, it led the entire hill areas of the northeast, Arunachal, what is we have today, the Naga, Mizoram, even this Meghalaya, present Meghalaya, they all came under foreign ministry, not the home ministry. I mean, as if they were foreign territory. And that is what they tell. When the Nagas negotiated, they say, look, we have an agreement where you have agreed, 16-point agreement with the Prime Minister of India, which says this will be dealt not with the home but with the foreign ministry. So this confusion that we had, this we inherited, this also led to our responses in a way which traumatized the people further. So the people who were suffering first by this, by the people, those who were trying to destroy their faith, their culture, their tradition. Even after the British left, we continued with a similar approach. You know, when India became independent, in Nagaland, they were hardly 42% reach of the church. Today, they are more than 95%. It happened all in independent India. Because we continued looking at the place as if it is a different place. People are different. They are not ours. And we need to sensitively bring them through appeasement, through all kinds of appeasement. And it led to vivisection. You know, Didi mentioned about two tribals fighting. That is their tradition. That is how they fight. Actually, that may be partly true. That is not the whole truth. People have been living together for millennia. It's not that they have lived together for 100 years or 200 years. It is the British who have started creating through their anthropological works. Each community they started saying, you are different, you are different, you are different. Yes, there is immense diversity in Northeast. But if you start looking at diversity, if you go into continuum, for example, you enter Northeast, let's say from West Bengal, from North Bengal, there is a point, Sri Rampur Gate, where you enter Assam. You drive from there, don't drive fast, and start halting. You start seeing the differences. But people, contiguous people, they understand each other. They share their culture. There is no marked difference. Well, if you go 100, 200 kilometers, and then you will find. But as a continuum, if you look at it, you don't see the difference, that difference. But the British, they created n number of documents by giving identity, tribal identity. Each one, and creating on the maps, drawing the maps, this is Nishi land, this is Apatani land, this is this land, this is that land. And this is what they quote today. No, this is our area. And after independence, when they started, some of them they started that we want separation from India. The government of India through appeasement started, okay, you have a separate state. Don't go away from India. Be with us. You know, a compromises. It led to vivisection of the region, creation of states. So many states were created. Nagaland, Mizoram, Arunachal Pradesh. And then, even within the state, so many statutory and constitutionally established homeland. Autonomous councils, autonomous tribe. Each tribe, you have a house, you have an area, this is your area. No area, only one set of people live. It is all a mix. Maybe in a village, those old days, maybe the village could be one homogeneous, but an area never. But we kept creating and kept dividing and subdividing and dividing. And this gave further fillip to their belief that we are different. And in this, the geopolitical rivalry, the forces, they started playing and they started stoking the disturbances, and insurgency and all the violence began. We used to lose about 2,000 people every year. Now we see it is all normal. The things changed after Prime Minister Modi came. Because he understands this country. He understands Bharat. And anyone who understands Bharat will not have a problem in understanding Northeast. All the stories that we hear about coming from some soldier telling you some story that these are weird or all, these are all stories. If you scratch and go within, they will find all the similarities. You connect. We have not been able to connect. People often also say that, look, you did a wonderful job by bringing this Naga Accord. Nothing a wonder. You relate with people and you see the connect. If you are from a distance, if you do not have the clarity about the people and the issue, then you complicate your response. If you do not diagnose the disease, if you are not clear about the pathology, the treatment is likely to create more complications. And that is what happened. North is a classic example of that. Now, though the violence has come down, peace has by and large restored. A few pockets, Manipur, that happened is unfortunate. But by and large, today Northeast is a story of development. New airports have come, highways have increased manifold. Digital infrastructure have been laid, internet connectivity is much, much better today. Mobile connectivity is by and large all over. But that civilizational war is still going on. The threat to the people's culture, the faith and tradition is there, is a real threat. And you know how much money, if you look at the money power, I do not know the current figure. The latest I had was of 2020, I must confess. Every year 250 crore goes from external, from different countries, European and US, to these missionaries for their conversion work, for their activities. 250 crore. I have nothing. I love Jesus. I have no problem. The problem is when somebody tells me that you only love and don't worship others. To change my culture, to change my tradition, to change my faith. Why? The change that is happening, the problems that has happened in the Northeast and that we are facing is, and the root of the problem, I spent several decades, but no one in the government ever told me, or even any of the institutions, what is the root of the problem, how the problem began, who started. Essentially, they are not different, they are ours, they are us. We need to help them. We need to rescue them from this trauma. Help them preserve their faith, their culture, their tradition. And people still, even those who have changed, they are essentially very good people. They are not radicals. They are very good people at heart. I tell you an illustration. 2019, I was the governor of Nagaland. And Nagaland has a wonderful, I urge you to go and visit. From 1st of December to 10th of December, they have a festival called Hon'ble. Very colorful festival. As they call it, that Nagaland for Christ. So at the beginning of the Hornbill, one pastor, he comes and does the invocation. That lasts for about a few minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. That year I thought, I had gone over in 2019, August. I said, why don't we have a native invocation also, native prayer. So I got a person from a village headman, 88-year-old man from the border, Burma border. Kanyakumari tribe, 88 years, 6 feet tall. December, 1st of December, on a hill where this happens on a hill of breeze, we were all covered with warm clothes and shawls. This man, bare body, with his spear in hand, he gave the invocation, 20 minutes. And you know, he spoke in his language, and I had a translator, one who could do it. Listening to him was like listening to Vedic riches. Let my rivers give water to our people. Let my forest give the wealth to sustain our people. Let the monkeys and animals in the forest live and prosper with us. And you know, at the end of the 20 minutes, thousands of Naga people standing and sitting there. They kept clapping for several minutes. It shows that still people have that pride. The question is, we have to own them. We have to see that, make them believe that you are not, your eating habit could be, well, I am not, if I am not a vegetarian, there is nothing wrong with that. What is wrong? Everyone doesn't have to be vegetarian. Why? If someone has got certain food habit, it's okay, perfect. Food habits it varies from place to place. Let them be what they are. We don't have to go with our prejudices. Now, in this effort to rescue them from the trauma, to save them who they are, and that is where our national interest lies. Because I said at the beginning that they are a part of our, what we say, Bharat Rashtra. The values that united us as a family. Though we speak different languages, we have different cuisines, we have different dresses, different climates, and yet we feel the common thread that unites us. That common thread extends to Northeast also. I have heard a story of Sri Rama among the Karbi tribes, among the Masa tribes, among many tribes, telling the story. There may be marginal, small variations here and there, but Sri Ram is there. Why didn't we think of finding this out and building on this relation? Why did we believe that they are different? Because British civil servants wrote a book in good English, voluminous, and gave us the wisdom that they are different. And why did we start responding to them in a way as if they were a stranger, a weird people? And we started approaching them with a condescending attitude. We are civilized, we are hurt, you are primitive. No. They are very, very fine human material. Very talented people. We need to stand with them, stand by them. In this effort, what Vivekananda Kendra is doing, they are doing much more than one can describe. Didi told about the physical hardship which the people used to face. Today that hardship has been mitigated to a great deal. But other challenges are as intense as it was before, perhaps more intense. I find it difficult to accept. Then when the former Prime Minister of India, Mani Atal Bihari Vajpayee, when he passed away, and his remains, ashes were dispersed in the rivers of all the states of the country, it was not permitted in Nagaland because they said that was a Christian state, it will not be allowed. This change in faith, changing the nationality, changing the outlook, this is a serious problem. Faith, this is a land which has all the faiths in the world. We have welcomed the Apostle Thomas and Thomas, who came to India long before others went to Europe. He was welcomed. The first mosque in this country was built, still there in Trichur in Kerala, at the time of Muhammad, Prophet Muhammad. We welcomed. There was no problem. There is no problem. The problem started happening when some thoughts started coming saying that no, our faith is the only faith, others must. Ours is, we have said, ekam sada viprabhavdha vadanti. Truth is one. People express it differently, variously. What a remarkable revelation, revolutionary revelation. Nothing could be more powerful than this to include and embrace all the diversities. the diverse, that is what all our prayers have been, not for ourselves, but for others. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu. I didn't say it give for me, for sarve. Sana vavatu, sana vunaktu, saviryam karvavai. This is all together in the invocation. Sangachadvam, sambadadvam, samvomanansi janatam. Together. This is the faith. This is the creed, if you call it. I would not like to call it creed, is a small term. This is the universal Sanatan, Adhyatma, the darshan, is alone can save the world. The world is at a terrible position today, riddled with conflict, self-destructive conflict. Today, human being is conflict with oneself, with one's neighbor, with the environment, everyone, with class. We have crisis, climate crisis. We have wars, visible, invisible wars all around the world. And so much of destructive potential in the hands of so many countries, so many people. The only way forward, sustainable way, what India did, tried to do, and tell the world in the G20 presidency when it said, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one world, one earth, not what, one earth, one family, one future. This is core Sanatana Dhyat. For this to grow, to develop, to spread to the rest of the world, Bharat has to be Samriddh, Samarth and Yashashvi. Has to be prosperous. This knowledge has been there with us. This philosophy has been, this darshan has been there with us for thousands of years, but people didn't take us seriously. We have to be strong. Sukracharya says in Sukraniti, Balino vasga sarve durbalasya cha shatrava. If you are strong, you have friends around. If you are weak, you are surrounded by enemies. Your message to be heard. Today, when Prime Minister of India speaks, the whole world listens. 10 years back, we were a large country, huge country, nobody heard us. We have to be samriddh, prosperous. We have to be samarth, capable, and we have to be yasasvi, glorious. And the glorious part of it is our civilizational values that we have to have the resurgence of. This is a divine obligation. This is an obligation on Bharat. It is not just, no, to understand Bharat, it's a beautiful pilgrimage if you start thinking about it. This, when India became independent, on the 15th of August, Shri Aurobindo was hugely inspired by Swami Vivekananda. Hugely inspired. Shri Aurobindo jotted down his dream, wherein he said, now the moment has come for Bharat to spread the light. He said that entire universe, in the entire universe, Earth is the only planet where consciousness is in the evolutionary stage. We have Jad, Chetan, Jeev, Manushya, and Manushya is also evolving to a higher plane. Earth is the only planet. And on this earth, Bharat is the only country where this knowledge, this eternal truth was revealed in the Vedic period several thousands years ago, that we are all one. This light has to spread. This light has to spread to the whole world. And for that, Bharat has to be Samriddh, has to be capable, samarth, and has to be yashasvi, glorious. And this is the journey which has begun today. What we see in the last 10 years. We see a lot of transformation happening. Whether mitigation of poverty, whether creating digital public infrastructure, whether sort of providing the essential ingredients of healthy citizenship like access to health care, education, electricity, potable water, home to homeless, all these things are happening at a scale and a speed unimaginable. From nowhere, we are today in the top 3 startup ecosystem in the world. In the field of science and technology, we have to move forward. We have to take the leadership. We have to prosper economically. We have to prosper in terms of science and technology. At the same time, we also have to have resurgence of our values, our Sanatana values. And in all this, because only then, because Swami Vivekananda had said that Bharat, what kind of Bharat? Bharat is, if it only grows materially, it only grows in science and technology, then it will be a poor imitation of the West. It doesn't solve the problem, we will become part of the problem. Because the West has created a system of belief where they are all fighting with each other. For Bharat, while it must be materially prosperous, while it must be leading in science and technology, but it must not be away from its root values. What he said is, Bharat, I want a Bharat whose muscles are of iron, whose sinews are of steel, but whose heart and mind are Vedantic, compassionate. This is the DNA of Bharat. And we have seen it. When in COVID, when the world was suffering, nobody was spared. And when the rich and advanced countries, when they made the vaccine, they looked at it as an opportunity to make more money. And thanks to our scientists, when we made the vaccine, even before we had full vaccination, we gave vaccine, we shared with the needy fellow human beings in more than 150 countries of the world. This is Bharat. This is walking the talk. When we talk about sustainable lifestyle, when we talk about a lot about in a climate crisis and all, the countries which are most responsible, guilty of accelerating the climate crisis by excessive use of by carbon fossil fuels, by and large they are doing lip service. They are not willing to reduce. But it is we, Bharat, which has taken a solid step. And we are moving forward with a determination. By 2030, 50% of our energy needs will be from clean sources. We have multiplied our solar generation by 22 times in the last 10 years. With 2 to 3 gigawatt, we are now generating over 70 gigawatt of electricity through solar alone. We are moving forward with our core ethos that we live in harmony with our nature, with the environment, because for us, we are not the Lord and Master of this creation, we are an integral part of the creation. The integral view of life, integral view of creation, which is the core of our Sanatana, Adhyatma, Sanatana Dharma, is the view of life of the people of Northeast also. They have so much in common. They are ours. And here, when I find there's so many distinguished people sitting here, I urge you that in our effort to bring these people, to save these people of the Northeast, think of doing something. Here is a body, Vivekananda Kendra, which has been doing it. They have been doing it for last over 50 years, almost 60 years. They have been doing with very meager resources, very meager. I told you, I gave you the figure, 250 crores coming from foreign countries. I'm not talking about what happens to the internal, diversion when the people, all the money which is going, because India is growing, a lot of money going in the region part, and a lot of it goes also in that hand. They are also doing. On the other hand, we have people who are serving in the area with hardly anything. Let's help them. Let's do our best, whatever we can. And when we build them, believe me, it is not a charity. It's not a charity. They are part of our family. They are a part of our kutumba. And you don't do charity to your family member. If any part of any member of your family, suppose if they're sick and poor, it affects the whole family. If the Northeast is down, if the Northeast is behind, if Northeast is disturbed, I don't think Bharat can ever claim and boast to be Bharat. It can be militarily strong, it can be economic, GDP can be many times more, but that will not be Bharat. Bharat is essentially built on a parivar, kutumba. They are our kutumba, they are our members. And I would urge you all to think over it and do whatever you can, whatever you must. Friends, thank you very much. And I'd like to thank Sister for giving me the opportunity. Thank you very much. Jai Bharat.